wir verlassen das Reisen in Destinationen, in Länder und in andere Galaxien. Ich habe auch etwas gelernt, muss ich zugeben. Und gehen auf den vierten und letzten Block ein, und das ist das Thema Enabling Change. Also hier stellen wir die Frage, was braucht es denn wirklich von den einzelnen Akteuren, dass sich diese Veränderungen einstellen? Jetzt, wenn man die Frage stellt, wie es gelingt, ganze Volkswirtschaften zu transformieren und auch die digitalen Instrumente sinnvoll einzusetzen, dann kommt immer ein Land, Sie kennen es und haben es vielleicht noch nie im Detail gehört wie heute, das ist Estland, das immer wieder genannt wird, und da wechsle ich jetzt nochmals auf Englisch. We are very pleased to have here today from Estland Anett Numa. She is Digital Transformation Advisor of e-Estonia Briefing Center, and she will have a keynote for us with the title Freshest Digital Mobility and Smart City Solutions to Transform the Future. We're very pleased to have you here to share your vision. Welcome on stage.
I would say one of the most difficult environmental and social challenges that we are facing today is transforming and changing the mobility of people and goods. And if we think about the future, we know that this is going to change drastically. But this is pretty much unpredictable which direction we are going to go to. And if you think about the potential of smart mobility solutions, it has the potential to really change lives and livelihoods of millions of people, no jokes aside. And of course also influence our life quality, at the same time our environment, and helps us to really reduce the impact for the climate change side. So of course also when we think about in a way that people move from place to place all the time, it should be a social right to don't have to like the fear in order to become a victim of any kind of accident. And this is, of course, also what the European Union is actively working on by the Vision Zero. By speaking about Estonia, which is the most well-known country when it comes to digitalization, I'm telling you here today what Estonia is doing to really change the future and change the sector of transportation and mobility by using very smart solutions and obviously technology. My name is Anett Numa, and I'm working as one of the advisors for digitalization at the Estonia Briefing Center, and with the next around 10-15 minutes, I will try to make you an overview where Estonia stands, and of course also what do we have for the future, as I said, in order to make a change happening in transportation. To start with, I really wanted to give you a very short overview before we go to the aspects of transportation and again, mobility side, where Estonia as a country stands today. So everything in our state is based on technology. So 99% of our governmental services are accessible fully online, and the only things that we can't do online, and we still have to show up in person, is just getting married and divorce. The rest of the things, services, are fully functioning online. And if you think about this marriage and divorce, and you think that this is about technology, that we don't have this working online, that's not true. It would be as simple as downloading yourself some kind of dating application on a phone, swiping right and left. Of course, it's more about, again, security and traditions that we also have. So why we have been so successful by implementing all this 99% of governmental services, as you know, our historical background, we have been independent only for the last 30 years, and we started with this process already 27 years ago by drafting a document to the Parliament in the year of 1994 saying that we're going to start preparing our infrastructure. But one of the main elements there was definitely that we introduced our electronic identity card in the year 2002 already. And as you can see today, 98% of people today already have electronic identity card in Estonia. And this is meant for many, many, many things. Not just accessing governmental services, but of course also if you travel, you use this as a document. This is, by the way, also our driving license. No additional documents needed. You get your medicals with this solution. Of course, also you use all the banking sector services. That's your loyalty card in shops. Many, many things that you can do with one simple card. And of course, again, if people are using so actively such solutions, they're much more open, of course, also to use solutions that are based on technology when it comes to transportation. our entire data exchange, and this of course also has a lot to do with mobility and transportation sector, is based on decentralized systems, so that our portals, our government institutions and also private institutions are fully operating on decentralized system, exchanging information over a system called e-Estonia. It happens with seconds. And 97% of the cases, all these kind of data exchanges between platforms are automated. So we do not have people working on a computer sending emails and exchanging information. It's the computers that can help us to do all these kind of things. And of course also the analysis part here. And of course, in order to make our people to sleep peacefully, again, whatever solutions they use in our state, then we have to find a solution to also make the security much higher. And that's why also Estonia is the first country in the world who uses blockchain on a national level. And why we use blockchain, obviously, is because we want to provide integrity of our data. And this is a key aside blockchain that we're using. And then the last thing before we go to the mobility side here is also transparency aspect here. Again, in order to make people to really use services, you need to provide transparency. And you know the most exciting thing about Estonia and why I love my country so much is that we're so transparent with our data. So we have, might find, like I would say, might sound funny, but I can tell you why. Because we are providing our people, such portal as a data tracker, or in other words, logbook, where I can track at what time of the day, which government agency or a private business, also transportation companies, have been looking for my private information. And I even see what kind of information they have been looking for. It's incredible, right? So I'm the boss of my information, not anybody from the government. They're just helping me to store my information. And that's, again, the fundamental basis of trust. But now to go, again, to the challenges in our mobility and transportation sector here. So, of course, we know that mobility sector got the biggest hit by the time of pandemic. And we see a lot of new trends, of course, also after the COVID-19 pandemic here. And there is a lot of questions in our head, first of all, how to achieve all this kind of, I would say, the climate targets in the transportation, because that's a very important topic. Besides this, of course, also the Vision Zero that I mentioned, there is still too many traffic accidents happening every single day, and people are very seriously injured by these incidents. So these are the questions that we always need to keep in mind whenever we develop new services. And now I'm happy to tell you how Estonia is issuing focusing on these issues here. And our answer for that is, as in all the other government services, first of all, again, innovation, and secondly, using technology as much as possible. So in Estonia, a very special thing also is that testing, again, automated vehicles is actually allowed in public roads already since the year 2016. And they are already a part of our public transportation system. So if you ever happen to come to Estonia, come visit me at my workplace, because in this area we have these, automated buses just driving around without any person leading them there. And of course also delivery robots on the streets already since the year 2017. So it's not a big surprise if your pizza will be delivered by a robot in the evening, if you get hungry. So that's already, again, a very common thing in many places in Estonia, so that we really deliver goods by using these delivery robots, and especially in the last mile site there as well. And then, of course, again, unmanned semi-autonomous delivery vehicles are, again, allowed on the public streets everywhere in Estonia already since 2021, which is a very, very unique thing for us, again, and focusing on the climate side. So we also have now our very first hydrogen, autonomous vehicle on the street. So again, thinking about how to really be environment friendly in that aspect. And to move over here, as I was talking about also the Vision Zero side. So we have to make sure that also our roads are safe for pedestrians and of course also for the cars. So that's why we have many, many solutions for that, like just to mention some of them, smart crosswalks here, or smart bus stops, or also road payments here, or even adaptive traffic light system. One of my favorite things that one of our companies called Bergman Technologies has been implementing now is this smart crosswalks. You know, the places where most of the traffic accidents for pedestrians happen are places where kids are going. Kindergartens, also elementary school, high schools, or some of the places where elderly are walking and then maybe they didn't see the car coming. These are, by statistically, the most common places where accidents happen. Today we have a solution for that. So these smart crosswalks are actually sending you a message and giving you the lights. So if they see that there is a heavy traffic or they see a car coming very fast, then they will kind of start sending like this kind of red lights to you and saying, please stop, please look on the right and left and make sure that it's safe to cross the road. And the coolest part of that, what this company is currently working on, is that they also have AI technology cameras there. And at the moment when the accident happens, the system is able to send a message to the emergency center. And automatically, by the moment the accident happens, say there was an accident, we need somebody from the ambulance or police. Imagine that. There doesn't have to be a person. And maybe both of these people are affected by the incident and can't call anybody. And if there is a light or in a way, he's sending a message to the emergency center and saying, we need help. Incredible, right? And later on, if you analyze this incident, there are cameras on these places. And then we can see exactly whose fault was it. So that's, again, making decision-making side there much, much more easier. We're currently testing this solution not only in Estonia, but this company, Bergman, we also have a lot of collaborations, for example, with Finland, where we are also testing these solutions near to high schools, and let's see how that works. And I can't wait to have the statistics already saying that thanks to these solutions, we have been able to avoid that amount of, accidents. And we need to find methods how to really apply for this Vision Zero, so that we wouldn't have these accidents happening not at all anymore. So that's definitely very, very important. And then, of course, also when we talk about the data, because I always say whatever topic we talk about, why should we collect data if we're not making decisions based on the data? And I see still too many countries and cities still not using the information that they actually have to make smarter decisions. So we are a country where actually the whole country is covered with also a digital twin. So we have 3D map everywhere. That, of course, also helps our autonomous vehicles to drive around on the streets because they know what's coming and so on. So obviously this is the basic need for that. Then we also have space-based technology to monitor and detect what's happening in the traffic in a way. We do also have AI-based technologies on smoother city traffic. For example, there isn't a person working in our emergency center sending or calling different police cars and saying, well, maybe you should go and see this street because it's very busy. There is a technology in the background there that sees which police car is the nearest, and automatically technology is able to send a message to the police car and saying, okay, it seems that the traffic is getting very, very intense that area. Please do and control there, so that we can avoid, again, these accidents to happen. So again, if we have AI technology, that should really, really help us to make smarter and quicker decisions and react much faster than we could expect to. And then, of course, also database public transportation network. We do have some success stories, and also maybe not so many success stories from some other cities, which we can easily compare. The second biggest city of Estonia did a huge research by using help from the private company, really analyzing every single detail of people using public transportation. And they did a lot of changes. And right now it functions very well. Because again, there was an actual data that we could see people are using this transportation method the most often. Maybe we should change the last mile of that. If we have the information, I'm asking you once again, why don't we use this actively to make our life quality better? And technology is there to help us in a way. And to sum it up here, what has been the biggest lessons we have learned, first of all, implementing all these e-government services and, of course, also mobility and transportation. So what we need to do actively is to, of course, also organize campaigns to raise awareness of people. They need to know what's happening, how technology is being used, and to really, again, build this trust between the government agencies who are providing solutions and the citizens who are the actual users. And we're very lucky because Estonian citizens are the most demanding customers that you can think of. They really, really are craving for like cool solutions. And then, of course, also, no country is able to do anything alone internally. We do not think that we're the smartest cookies on the planet. The reason why we share this story is to work together with you guys. Because we have a lot to learn from each other. And that's why if we can initiate different kind of innovations globally, to collaborations with countries and really test things out. Maybe something that works here could be a good solution also in Estonia. Maybe something that we have been using for years in Estonia could work here. So that's why it's extremely important to, again, exchange ideas. And transparency will remain as a key element here again to make people to use your services. And last but not least here, also what we have learned from the lessons is that you can't also do anything without the help from the private sector. I'm very glad that we have tons of representatives from private sector companies here, ICT companies. That's incredible. And I can say that Estonia has been so opened by the government sector to really work with all of these private sector companies. Why? Because you guys are the smartest. You know much better how things work than people in the government. You got to sit on a table with us and say what we need to change. Because as a decision maker, we are not, again, the smartest, brightest stars. We can be if you really advise us. And that's why having this collaboration with public and private sector and including academia can really make a change happening. And to really sum it up here, if you want to find out more, then we have a wonderful organization in Estonia, ITS Estonia. Their homepage is right over here. You can see their case studies. You can contact them if you want to, again, investigate a little more what they have been up to and what are the current projects that they are working on. And really, I would say, let's try to share our lessons and really do something fully together, because that helps us to be safest and smartest in the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. It was really a pleasure to listen to you and to see also your enthusiasm for the topic and how convinced you are, and obviously also people living in Estonia, how they share this vision. And that already brings me to the questions. So we have many questions for you. I had the impression reading the questions that maybe our government is too smart to listen, like you said. We don't think we are the smartest. We need to get the right people on table. So we got many questions in that direction. I will start with the one with the most likes. So Estonia seems to be an example for many countries. What hints you give to Switzerland? Push the politics or push technology?
I've been actually lucky enough to meet a lot of your decision makers. We just had some of the ministerial visits to Estonia as well, and we had this discussion with them as well. And what I told them as a suggestion was to be more open with communications. Because even when we think about the referendum that you had by implementing the identity card, I guess you guys remember, right?
We do.
I was investigating this a little bit, and I understood that if the entire campaign and communication with citizens would have been done differently, then the results would be different. So again, it's just, again, talk to people, ask their advice, and again, speak openly how things work and so on. Again, I would say that they should build more trust again, and really be more open for, as I said also in the beginning, to work with private, because this is the formula of success.
I think the different aspect is that with technology, many people are not too much into the details. So even though you are open, it's not a topic that everyone can build his or her own opinion. So at the end, we indeed end up with trust. So how did you deal with that situation, that the knowledge level is not for everyone that high to make her own opinion?
Mm-hmm. Well, again, the key lays here on education. That's what I always say. Whatever problem any country is facing, education is a solution, 100%. So that's what we have been trying to do, again, to raise this awareness, but talk very simple language. And again, as I said, not many people are not interested in technology, they're afraid of technology. But why not to use simple words to talk about technology, and especially when we talk about new solutions? Let's talk about the advantages that we're going to get by using these solutions. Usually what we see different states doing is that they just say, okay, here is a new solution, blah, 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 this is the background, all this technology stuff, and it sounds science fiction to you. But talk about what are the benefits that me as a citizen, I'm going to win by using this solution. The same with transportation. If I know that the government is collecting my movements to make me a better transportation system, then why should I be against that?
I think you have maybe seen the big posters, Massenüberwachung, so that's a delicate topic at the moment, that the government knows what you're doing and what not. And that brings me also to the next question, which is a rather critical one. So you were speaking of the cameras that help you to understand how an accident happened and whose fault it was. Here, when you speak about cameras in the public area, then people are, ooh, that's dangerous. So privacy, data protection, all of that. And the question here is, what's the difference to China with 24/7 surveillance? So that discussion you answer a lot, I guess.
I was about to just say that probably somebody was like, okay, you guys are like China, but we're not. So there is a huge difference here. Whether you collect information centrally or decentrally, whether you're storing this information for later on or no. So for us, in a way, it's that there's not a government institution who would centrally store that information and just could see and track it, whoever's movements in a way. So again, if this kind of incident happens, then you can only get that kind of case. And then to analyze that case, but there can't be anybody who's just randomly going to go and see your movements or putting you the ratings, like as China is doing also, that if you cross the road in the right way and help the elderly person to cross too, then your personal rating is going to increase. We don't do that stuff, obviously, because that would be too much influencing our privacy. And as I said, privacy is the key element to us today, why also GDPR regulations that are applied by the European Union.
Makes sense. For me, I'm looking at one of the next questions. We will not be able to address everyone, but one question was what you mentioned as well with the digital identity. And the question is, how comes that 98% uses this? So how did you achieve that?
Well, this is actually the compulsory document in Estonia, so you don't really have a choice.
That makes sense. That's a good learning.
But I can give you just very short comparison. Our neighborhood country, one of the Nordic countries, Finland, had this card before Estonia did it. They didn't make this compulsory, and we were looking at the numbers. And you know what? Only 40% of Finnish population today has this card. But think about it, the state is making an investment to implement identity card. And then only 40% of your citizens are using this, which automatically means that you still have to keep up the different systems running. Offline, on paper, and then online. And what it means for the government is that, first of all, it's a double cost, and also a very huge risk of security. Because you can attack information both on paper and also online. We didn't want to go in that direction because we knew that this investment is not going to pay off. So we said, identity card has to be compulsory. And nobody is fighting against that, as I said, that we have tons of options to use this card also for my private sector services.
How did the 2% get out of this?
I have been investigating this myself, and I'm trying to understand, what's the story, why do they don't have the card? But actually, a colleague of mine told me that there are some people that their card has expired, and they haven't updated the card, so they are part of that percentage. And then there are people also, maybe that are living somewhere in a very deep forest and don't feel a need to communicate with the state.
So Switzerland is a country with lots of forest.
And with a lot of nice mountains where I would also like to spend my retirement. But definitely, again, it's how you, again, send a message and communicate that. Because, again, we based on these kind of campaigns on addressing advantages. What you as a citizen of Estonia, what are your benefits? And I can tell you one of the numbers as the very last end note here. We sign also all of our documents by using our identity card. You don't need to go anywhere. Every single citizen saves around 5 days per year. Is there anybody here who wouldn't like to have extra week of vacation? and the government, by the way, saves 2% of GDP every single year. 2% of GDP. And that's the money we spend on defense and security to be a member of NATO.
I think we are convinced, and it's your applause.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming here to share your example, and please take some of our decision makers back when you return. Thank you so much, Anett.